Bonjour YouTube, welcome back to our channel. We are back in Versailles and today we'll be telling you all about the gardens, how the water is fed into the Bosquet and the machines de Marly. On y va! Versailles was built on marshland, yet the estate paradoxically lacked water, a problem Louis XIV engineers spent decades trying to solve. From 1663, water was drawn from the Étang de Clagny and channeled to the park by aqueduct, first by mills, then by pumps. Unfortunately, these local sources could never keep pace with demand, so engineers dammed La Bièvre and dug a network of ponds with a combined capacity of 8 million cubic meters, fed by 200 kilometers of drainage channels, draining 15,000 hectares. It still wasn't enough, so Pierre-Paul Riquet, designer of the Canal du Midi, proposed diverting la Loire from Briare into Versailles. A later scheme proposed diverting the river Eure instead. Both were abandoned as impractical. Royal building accounts show that Versailles cost around 80 million livres to build between 1664 and 1715. The park's hydraulic system alone absorbed nearly 30 million, roughly 35 to 40% of total spending before 1690.
Around 1680, Louis XIV sought the best hydraulic expertise he could find. The Liège craftsman mechanic Rancan Soilem, working with Arnauld de Ville, designed the machine de Marly, drawing on mine drainage pumps he knew from Liège and the Arles. Construction began in 1681 after a successful trial with a smaller model and took about 4 years, mobilizing some 1,800 workers. A dam between Bassin and Marly created a fall of a few meters in the Seine, powering 14 paddle wheels, each 12 meters in diameter. The wheels drove pumps on 3 levels, linked by a chain network running about 700 meters up the hillside. Water was raised in 3 stages to over 100 meters above the Seine, then carried by the Louveciennes aqueduct, a little over 600 meters long, to the Reservoir des Deux Portes à Versailles. The machine cost around 3.5 million livres to build and, as contemporaries complained, even more to maintain. Intended flow was about 6,000 cubic meters a day. It never sustained more than about 3,000, a permanently disappointing return on a huge investment.
Another problem with the machine is that it was notoriously noisy and expensive to keep running, as it was built almost entirely of wood. Repairs were abandoned around the year 1800, and the machine was finally demolished in 1817. It was eventually superseded by a steam and paddle wheel system built between 1855 and 1859 by the engineer Dufrayer, which went on to supply Versailles, Meudon, and Saint-Cloud. The garden's fountains still run substantially on this Ancien Régime plumbing today. About 30 kilometers of pipework in the gardens, 90% of it dating from Louis XIV's reign. It's part of a wider network that once totaled roughly 200 kilometers. Incredibly, on a full grandeur day, the system can run on the order of 1,400 jets and use tens of thousands of cubic meters of water, up to around 72,000 in some configurations. In short, the gardens of Versailles are a pure manifestation of Louis XIV bringing the nature to play by his rules. One of these fountains is La Fontaine du Point de Jour, facing the Parterre du Midi, with its 2 bronze groups by Jacques Hauzeau showing animals locked in combat, and nearby le Bassin de Latone that attracts millions of visitors every year, and is the first bassin on the central perspective. It occupies the site of a bassin originally dug under Louis XIII, and it was first created by Le Nôtre in 1666 as the Fontaine au Crapaud. 2 years later, the fountain was formally dedicated to the myth of Latone, mother of Apollon and Diane. Latone, pursued by the jealous Juno, fled with her infant twins. Thirsty, she stopped at a pond in Lycia, where peasants mocked her and fouled the water, so she begged Jupiter to punish them, and he turned them into frogs. Between 1687 and 1689, Jules Hardouin Mansart rebuilt the basin into its current pyramidal form, turning Latone to face west, down the Allée Royale. What we see today is a copy by Michel Lorenzi, as the original is kept away after a vandalizing graffiti episode in 1980.
A few steps down, you find yourself at the Point de Vue de Rouen. You can turn your head and take in all 4 bassins de saison at once. Flore for spring, Cérès for summer, Bacchus for autumn, and Saturne for winter. We will visit them one by one. All four were built in the 1670s and were recently restored between 2019 and 2020. Bacchus is shown with ripe grapes for the autumn harvest. Around him, satyrs who have drunk too much wine lie fast asleep.
Hidden deep inside the green is Le Bosquet de la Salle de Bal. Le Nôtre designed it between 1680 and 1683, dedicating it to dance, an art Louis XIV himself practiced and enjoyed. It is also called Le Basquet de Rocaille for the cascade of rocaille work that decorates it. Millstone and shells brought from Madagascar, over which water ran down in sheets. Spectators sat on tiered grass steps, several levels of turf banking, to watch the waterfall over the shell and stone buffet. Musicians played from a position above the water buffet, overlooking the Flore. Personally, it's one of my favorite places to be at Versailles.
Le Bosquet de la Girandole was one of the first two Bosquets Le Nôtre created at Versailles. It takes its name from the jet at the center of its basin, which rose from a metal flower basket in the shape of a girandole, a fireworks spray. Le Bassin de Saturne features a winged Saturn, who personifies winter while a cupid beside him is depicted playing with a carnival mask. Shells, sponges, and anemones appear caught in ice around the basin's edge.
From here we arrive to Le Bosquet de la Colonnade. We are particularly lucky to be able to see it open today, as it was kept closed for a while during the restoration works. Jules Mansart built it around 1685. Louis XIV had asked specifically for une colonnade de marbre avec de grosses fontaines. Le Nôtre, asked by the king for his opinion of the result, is said to have replied, "Well, sire, what can I tell you? You have turned a mason into a gardener, and he has given you a sample of his own trade." It's one of the few bosquets at Versailles that Le Nôtre didn't design himself, and it does feel very different from the others. 32 Ionic columns in alternating white and pink marble form a circular colonnade linked by arcades. 32 matching pilasters stand behind them. 15 sculptors worked on its decorative program, among them Cosvaux, Girardole, and Leongre. Dozens of marble basins in triangular feet still stand at the base of the peristyle. Their number has changed since the 18th century, when extra entrances were cut into the structure. At the center stands François Girardole's L'Enlèvement de Proserpine, showing Pluton abducting Cérès' daughter as her companions look on helplessly. Worked on across roughly 1678 and 1699. The original marble group was removed for conservation. A copy stands in its place since 1990. According to Louis XIV's own visitor instructions, the colonnade was to be used for concerts. Going back behind the green walls, we enter my other favorite bosquet, Le Bosquet de l'Encelade. Le Nôtre laid it out between 1675 and 1677, on Louis XIV's own instigation. At its center, a round basin holds a monumental gilt-lead statue of the giant Encelade by Gaspard Marcy, after a design attributed to Charles Lebrun. Encelade was one of the giants who rebelled against the Olympian gods. Defeated, he was buried under Mount Etna. Marcy shows him 4 times life-size, half submerged in rock, one hand still clenched around a stone in defiance, the other open in surrender. The jet from his mouth was originally the tallest in the entire garden, about 25.74 meters. Today it reaches around 23 meters. 2 political regions coexist, an allegory of Louis XIV's triumph over La Fronde, or of the 1661 fall of Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister imprisoned after trying to dazzle the young king with the festivities at Vaux-le-Vicomte. An octagonal ring of turf and 8 small rocaille fountains were added around the basin in 1678. This bosquet notably served as an inspiration to Karl Lagerfeld for his 2018 Spring-Summer Chanel Haute Couture show at Le Grand Palais in Paris. I loved it.
On our way back to the chateau, we pass by Le Bassin de Flore. Sculpted by Jean-Baptiste Tuby after Lebrun's design, Flore is depicted on a bed of roses, anemones, and heliotropes. 4 cupids form a floral garland around her, marking the first season of the year, the spring. A few moments later, we are met with le Bassin de Cérès. Cérès, the goddess of the harvest, is enthroned on an island of wheat, marking summer. She completes the cycle of the 4 seasons begun back at le Bassin de Bacchus.
What I love about discovering this Bosquet is that every single time you go into one of them, you have no idea where they are exactly, if you haven't checked the maps, and it's always like this discovery of things that you don't know what you're gonna see, but you know one thing for sure, it's going to be incredible and absolutely gorgeous. Let's go. The statues at Le Bosquet de Bains d'Apollon have occupied different settings at Versailles. In 1666, Girardole and Regnodin carved Apollon servi par les nymphes, and Apollon in the king's own image. The statues have been moved twice. First from the Grotte de Tétis, demolished around 1684. In 1778, Hubert Robert redesigned this Bosquet to receive them in the Anglo-Chinois style. He set Apollon in an artificial grotto, flanked by the 2 chevaux du soleil.
We arrive to Le Bosquet, that is the only one at Versailles recorded on an old plan as being credited directly to Louis XIV's own design. Lenaud created Le Bosquet de Trois Fontaines between 1677 and 1679, and it follows the natural slope of the ground, laid out on 3 distinct levels, linked by cascades. At the bottom, an octagonal basin is ringed by 8 straight jets around a central vasque. Since the reign of Louis XVI, it lay derelict for more than 2 centuries. It was restored between 2002 and 2004.
Louis XIV himself instructed that visits should start from the top to the bottom, with then following a green corridor to the right that leads directly to Le Bassin de Dragon, built under Le Nôtre between 1679 and 1681. Here, a serpent python, sent by Junon to stop Latone giving birth, is slain by an arrow from the young Apollon. We tried to fit as much as possible into the episode, but please keep in mind that there are other fountains and Bosquet that we simply couldn't do without getting this video to be too long, and also, we wouldn't want to give away all of the secrets, would we?
And that's it for today. We hope you liked this episode. If you would like to see more of these videos, please don't forget to like, share and comment below. And until the next one, au revoir.